Hello, and welcome to the Sarah Seems podcast. My name's Sarah. I'm coming to you from Columbus, Ohio, where I live with my partner Troy and our cats Alex, Moo, and Elsie. So if you hear any meowing or anything, that is them in the background, probably trying to break into the room. Today is Sunday, November 17th. Hard to believe. We are almost fully into the holiday season. This is my first regular podcast episode in about a month, I think. It's my first episode since I posted the Rhinebeck special of my trip to the New York Sheep and Wool Festival. So if you are interested in that, I'll put a link to it up here. If you want to check out that video. I won't be sharing any of my acquisitions from the festival today, but I did go to India Untangled and the New York Sheep and Wool Festival. So if you're interested in hearing about my experiences, seeing what I purchased there, please feel free to check out that video. I'm excited to get back into the swing of regular podcasting. So this is just where I share all about my crafty projects. It's mostly knitting, but today we actually have knitting, spinning, and quilting. I have a little quilting update. Yeah, I have a lot to share. Like I said, it's been a while, but I always have a lot to share, don't I? If you've been here for a while, you know that that's true. So what am I forgetting? Oh, social media. If you're interested in following me on Instagram or you want to be friends on Ravelry, I have those linked below in the description box. And I just like to let everyone know that I don't do super detailed project notes in the description here about like patterns and designers, but if you ever have any specific questions, please leave them in a comment below and I will be sure to get back to you as soon as I can. Okay. Should we start with what I'm wearing? You probably saw it right away, and it's the Go-Go Dynamo by Stephen West. So this was this year's Mystery Knit Along, and it's my second year participating. I could put a picture in of last year's design of my version. So this year we did, and last year, I'm sorry if I'm all over the place today. Last year's was, oh my gosh, the name just exited my brain. I'll put it on the screen. I can't remember. But yes, last year was my first year participating and there was some like drama around the MKAL last year, but I'm still really happy with the end result and I wear it quite a bit around the house. I like the big tassels. They're like very cozy. So this was my second year participating and this year we did the Go-Go Dynamo. So let me take it off so you can see the whole thing. I'll probably have to stand up to show you this. But yeah, it was really, really fun. I can walk you through all the clues. I actually managed to finish it in the like time period this year, which definitely wasn't the case for me last year. It took me longer. And I think that's totally reasonable. These are like enormous shawls, although I did opt not to do the additional border. So let me kind of talk you through it and then I can show you the yarns that I used. So the first clue were these like half circle rainbow shapes. And then, so you knit all those like individually and then you join them together with the garter ridges. And then there was this first section of the bubbles. Clue 2 was these long brioche sections. This is actually 2-color brioche. On the back you can see better. I use this like brighter pink mohair. And then a couple other rows of the bubbles. Clue 3, which I was scared of when I first saw it, but it actually ended up being my favorite one. Oh, see, this is the only thing about it. It leaves mohair everywhere. Clue 3 was all these little short row triangles along the edge, which were finished with an I-cord, so they created a really nice border. And then finally for clue 4, we came back, picked up stitches along that clue 1 edge, and kind of filled in the semicircle with some really pretty texture. This would have been my favorite clue if it was more fun to knit. I liked that kind of like race to the finish feeling because you were decreasing. But these little bobbles, even though they look very, very cute, they were kind of a pain to knit. You had to like knit or purl 3 together through the back loop with fingering weight and mohair, so it was just kind of tough on the hands, but I think it looks really pretty and I liked, like I said, I liked that like sprint to the finish feeling. And then there was also an optional additional border, but you had to pick up the like 400 or 500 stitches along that edge to start the border. And while I like how the border looks, I was not willing to do that. I was like, if I don't do that, I will finish it in, I'll be done with it in like a month. And at that point I was like, I'm kind of ready to be done with it. As fun as it is, it does kind of take up like all of your knitting time. At least for me, it does. Like when I'm working on this, it's my main project. So yeah, I was kind of ready to be done. And honestly, it's so huge already. I really felt like if I added that extra border, it was going to be too big. But it is really nice. It's pretty easy to wear either this way or just like draped around you. Yeah, I'm really happy with it. So let me show you the yarns that I used. My main color, I purchased all these yarns, by the way, at Oak City Fiber when I was there in North Carolina earlier this year. I think it was over the summer. Really cute shop. If you're local to Raleigh, it was really nice to visit. So yes, this is my main color. It is from Ryan Yarn, which is hand dyed in Georgia, and the color is Queen of Shadows. My contrast color was this speckly guy. Kind of had like a white or very light pink base with all these fun speckles. And this was from Leading Men Fiber Arts. The color is Only Have Eyes for You, but it's like EWE, very cute. And my mohair was 10 Silk Mohair in this brighter pink, which I can never find the color. Color is 4628. So yeah, that's the Go Go Dynamo. I really like it. I heard a lot of people saying it's a little more like traditional than what Stephen West usually does, which is interesting. I definitely enjoyed knitting it, I think a little bit more than the one last year. But I don't know. I'm pleased with it. Let me know if you participated. I'd be eager to hear about your experience. So that was a big finished object. But I have 6 more finished objects. So let's dive right in with some socks. The only finished pair of socks I have this time were the Colorwork Cuff Club. So this was the design from August, one of the designs from August, but I decided to knit these in October since I didn't really, both of the October designs were cute. One had apples and stripes and one had little ghosts, but I felt like they were both very specific and not something I would get as much wear out of as these. And I just thought this little flower motif was so cute. So I went back and knit this design, which I now have knit both of the designs from August. So I felt like that worked out. The yarn was a sock set from Sunday Fiber Co. that was gifted to me by my friend Jess. And it is their barefoot sock. It's 80% organic merino wool, 20% recycled nylon. They call it Eco Superwash. And the colorways were Delphinium and Hydrangea. So the main color, which was this kind of variegated light color, that's Delphinium. And then this pretty light periwinkle kind of blue that I used for the heel and toe, that is the Hydrangea color. And then I actually added this darker blue in the Colorwork, which was just a little mini that I had in stash. I'm sorry if there's a weird cut right there. I just sneezed and I just cut it out. We're all over the board today. You can tell I'm a little rusty at this. And also we went out for my birthday tonight, last night. And I am like the tiniest bit hungover, so please bear with. Yes, okay. These are done. Here's the second one. I think they're very cute. The Colorwork is I can just barely get it on my foot. Like I was afraid I was gonna have to give these away because the Colorwork was too tight. And I will talk about how I'm addressing that going forward when we get to whips, and I'm talking about the next Colorwork Cuff Club socks that I'm working on because I do have a plan to make sure that they fit me better going forward. So those are the August flower design for the Colorwork Cuff Club. Really enjoyed them. Okay, next I have a couple hot water bottle covers. So I think I talked about this on the last podcast episode. Maybe I had started mine already, but I was definitely influenced by Laura Penrose and all of her cute hot water bottle cover designs to A, get a hot water bottle, which I did not already have, and B, knit some cute covers for them. So I got one for myself, and I knit up a cover using some of my hand spun. This was spun from a bat from a gem, Fiber Arts. I think the color was like California Sunset or something like that. And I spun it into a fingering weight yarn, and I ended up holding it double to make this. This is a free pattern, just a super basic stockinette hot water bottle cover. It's pretty customizable, like you just kind of keep trying it on the bottom, at least that's what I did. But I've been using this a ton since I finished it. It's probably been done for at least 3 weeks, and I've been using it like pretty much every day. It gets cold in our house, especially in the evenings, especially in our bedroom, and I've been just like taking it to the bed and cuddling with it. I haven't been like falling asleep with it in the bed. I'm trying to make sure I'm using it safely, but it is really nice and comforting. I especially like to use it when I'm working from home too, like just have it like in my lap or behind my back, or even just to like keep my hands warm. But I will say, I think the yarn is showing signs of wear and tear already. Maybe it's not that obvious on camera, but it is definitely getting like some fuzz. I think you can see the yarn is probably going to be a little bit pilly, but I think it was kind of the perfect use for it to do something like this. And it's really pretty. So I've also knit a second one. So I got one for myself, and I'm planning to gift some as well for the holidays. So I knit a second one for Troy. Here it is. This one's really fun. I had some, so it's the same pattern, but I held 2 yarns together. I had some local alpaca in 3 different shades. So I had this like creamy shade, a medium brown, and then a really dark brown. And these are all natural shades of alpaca from a local farm. And they were kind of small skeins. Like they were each between 20 and 30 grams. Like they just were kind of like mini skeins. And they've been in my stash forever, and I really didn't know what to do with them. But then it just kind of struck me that I could make this, and I think it turned out so nice. So I decided to do a marled stripe for this one, again using the same pattern, but I definitely didn't need as many stitches for this one. I actually had knit to about here on it, and then I had to rip back because it was too big. So yeah, I definitely learned that I need to kind of try them on as I go. I have a couple more versions planned, and they're all using like different yarn weights, so it's kind of like a trial and error thing. But this free pattern is called, it has a funny name. I think it's called like All You Need, a Classic on Ravelry, and it's just this free simple pattern. But yeah, I feel like the stripes worked out so well. So I did stripes of 10 rows, and the medium brown is held throughout because I had the most of that one, and then I alternated with the dark brown and the light, and then I did the ribbing in the next color. And it just kind of worked out perfectly, the spacing of the stripes, that I could keep the same width, and they just ended. There's like maybe a couple extra stripes in the very top, but I think it looks very consistent. So yeah, really happy with that one. That one's going to be getting gifted. And then I have 2 more planned. I'm actually planning to cast on the next one today, and I'm very excited about that one. I'll wait to show you. Well, I guess I won't be doing any more regular podcasts until after the new year because of Vlogmas. So I'll just tell you about it. And I don't think my sister watches this, but Laura, if you're watching, turn it off. I'm making one for my sister, and she is a Chaperone super fan. So hers is going to be pink and red, and it's going to say hot to go, which I think is a very funny pun for a hot water bottle. So my plan for that one is to kind of, I can use this one as an example. I'm going to knit the increases in red, and then I'm going to do a few, like about this much probably, of Colorwork, but like pink and red checks, like alternating for a couple rows. And then the body will be pink, and then I'll kind of inverse that up here, so there'll be pink and red checks, and then solid red, and this will be red. And then I'm going to go back in and duplicate stitch hot to go on the front. At least that's the plan, and I think it's going to be really cute, and I just think it's funny. So I'm excited to do that one next. And then I do have one more planned, which I really need to get going on these. They don't take that long if you just sit down and focus on them, but you know me, I have 100 other projects. The last one I'm planning, I'm not going to be able to talk about because that person does watch the podcast. So I'll keep that one close to the vest for now. Yeah, those are my hot water bottle covers. Very fun to make, fairly quick, not as quick as you might think. They definitely take a few hours, but satisfying little project, and I'm excited to gift them this year. Next, I have a sweater. I have a sweater to show you. And this one, I have a lot to say about this one. So I finished my big rib, my sparkly big rib, and I knit this as part of Laura Penrose's MKAL that she's doing right now, or make along. It is the To Me From Me make along, and the whole idea is to just like make yourself something special for the holiday season. And for me, that meant sparkles. So let me show you this. I don't know how well the sparkle is going to come across on the camera right now, but I am really, really happy with the finished result, but it was a bit of a challenge to get there. So this is worked top down. Sorry, it's a drop shoulder, but it is worked top down. So you cast on at the back neck here, and it has this nice shaping line. It's 4x4 rib, so it is like a real chunky rib. I love the sleeves and the sleeve length. The decreases on the sleeves are nice, even though that's such a wide rib. And then the front like neck increases are also really nice in that ribbing pattern. Like it just looks very cohesive. And then let me put a video in of me wearing it so you can see what it looks like, and I'll tell you a little bit about my yarns while that's going. So the main yarn was Woolfolk Taj, the white, which is colored 00, and it is 75% ultimate merino, 25% mohair. And the ultimate merino, Woolfolk just has their own, like, it must be trademarked, like their own brand of merino. It's Ovis 21 Ultimate Merino, so it's like a super soft merino. So it's a merino mohair, and then the sparkle are Lang paillettes. It was just a nylon cord with like a ton of mini sequins on it, and the cord is white and the sequins were silver. And I got those from the Crafty Jackalope. The wool and folk yarn I picked up at a local yarn store. The sparkles I ordered from Crafty Jackalope. And where to begin? Okay, so as I said, I am very happy with the finished product, but I was frustrated about how I had to get there. So I didn't really have any issues until I started working on the body in the round, and it became pretty apparent that the back panel was too long. And I think I showed this to you all last time, that like when I held it up, the back was like down here and the front was like up here. Like it was like 4 inches shorter, and the whole thing just felt a little bit imbalanced. Like once you put the sleeves on, it was just tilting towards the back. And I knit everything to the correct gauge, to the correct measurements. So I do feel like this is a flaw with this pattern. If I didn't already say, this is the Big Rib by Jessie May. And when at that point I kind of paused and went and looked at a bunch of people's project photos, and I could see that a lot of people, you could see the people that had corrected for this and the people that hadn't. Like people that had corrected for it had notes on their Ravelry page about how they had done that. People that just knit it to pattern had a much longer back than front, which sometimes I like. And if that's the intention, like, I think that's great. But this is a design where I really just wanted it to be a straight hem because I was going for more of a cropped look. And by the time I had only knit like 2 inches or so on the body in the round, the back was already longer than I wanted it to be, like the finished sweater. So I was like, well, what do I do? Like the front needs to be like 4 inches longer, but the back needs to be no longer than it already is. So I kind of just paused on the body and went back and worked the sleeves, which I worked pretty much to pattern. I definitely knit them a lot shorter than the pattern calls for. If I had knit these to pattern, my sleeves would have been like this far past the end of my hand. Like I knit the decreases like at the same rate that she suggested, but she called for 9 sections of decreases and I only had 7. So if that tells you anything, this would have, I mean, I do have short arms, but I don't usually have to shorten things that much. I think these would have been like flailing around on the end of my arms. So I shortened the sleeves significantly. Then I added the collar, and I was just doing whatever I could to avoid dealing with the body problem. But I ultimately tackled it by adding a bunch of short rows. So let me see if I can show you this. And hopefully you can't see where I added them. I think they look pretty good. But basically the front was like up here. It was like this. And I wanted to just fill in that space. So I did some math and I knit 4 inches, like 20 some rows of short rows, going back to the back to fill this space in until it matched the back. And I really don't think you can tell, and I think it looks really nice. But I wasn't like, you know, that's a pretty significant pattern alteration. And I don't love that I had to do that to get the look that I was going for. The other thing is, once I had done that, I decided I was going to knit the suggested 1.5 inches of ribbing at the bottom, which as you can see is no longer there. But when I first finished this, there was another 1.5 inches of 1x1 ribbing at the bottom, and I blocked it and tried it on, and it was too long, longer than I wanted it to be. So I again sat on it for a couple days, and I ultimately decided to rip out that ribbing. And unfortunately it wasn't as easy as like ripping back the 4x4 rib and then like knitting the 1x1 rib but making the whole thing shorter, because I had all those short rows in the body. So I decided the easiest and best thing to do was going to just be to just bind off the edge with a knitwise bind off, which is what Jessie suggests in the pattern. It's the same bind off used on the neck, so you kind of get that little edge. And I just went ahead and bound off the body in the same way. And I think, luckily, I think it works with the design to just kind of have it end. I don't miss the 1x1 rib, and now it fits well, and I'm super happy with it. But I think this might be my last Jessie May pattern, which makes me sad because I think her designs are really cute. And I want to support size inclusive designers, but I've not ever had a successful experience knitting one of her patterns as written. And it may just be that our body types are very different. Like she's very busty, and maybe that like makes like obviously she's designing for herself and our bodies are very different. So I think I might just have to, I don't want to say I would never knit one of her patterns again, but because like, for example, the Northwoods V-neck that I knit earlier this year is like one of my favorite sweaters. I could see myself knitting that pattern again, but I still had to alter that pattern quite a bit. And at least now I know how I would need to alter it, but I would definitely be careful before knitting a new one of her patterns, at least garment patterns, which, yeah. It's kind of a bummer, and I am happy with how it turned out, but it was a bit of a frustrating experience. Okay, next I have a little bit of spinning and then a quilting update. So I have been doing some more spinning lately in the past like month and a half or so, and I am currently working on a long-term project spin. I am spinning up 6 different braids for a night shift shawl by Andrea Mowry. And I finished the second of those braids. Here it is. Wow, it is like these colors. I have a palette. Here it is. The fiber is from Fat Cat Knits. I purchased it on Etsy. And this colorway is Lipstick Diva. So I'm trying to spin worsted weight. This is my second skein for the project. This one definitely came out closer to like a heavy DK, so we're getting closer. The first one is more of a sport weight, which I don't know. I mean, they're not gonna all be exactly the same. I'm also probably gonna be spinning these up over like a year, but I feel like the night shift shawl is it's probably a pretty forgiving project as far as like the weight of your yarn. At least that's what I'm hoping, but I am so pleased with how it came out. I think the colors are beautiful. I really like how they came together. This one definitely has more spots like here where you got all 3 plies kind of being the same color, which is interesting. I think it'll be cool to see how that knits up. So yeah, that was a big one off the wheel. And I should say, I just have an EEW Nano, like the little tiny electric wheel, and that's been working fine for me. I think if I ever wanted to do like a big combo spin, where it would be ideal to spin like an entire 4-ounce braid onto one bobbin, that's where I would feel how small this wheel is. But what I've been doing so far is just spinning up braids as like 2 or 3 ply, just the one braid. So putting it onto multiple bobbins hasn't been an issue, but I do think at some point in the next couple of years, I'll probably want to invest in a larger E wheel. I do really like the E spinner. I think there's something very like romantic about a big wheel, you know, like a traditional style wheel, but I don't know if I really have room in my space for something like that. And the E-wheel works really well for me, so I do think I will probably buy a full-size E-wheel at some point. Last quick update. If you happen to tune into my Vlogmas series last year, I participated in Quiltmas, which is hosted by a group of quilt designers, and there's 12 of them, and every day for the first 12 days of December, they release each person designs one quilt block, and the first 12 days of December, they all get released. And I made all the blocks last year, but then I kind of lost steam on like finishing the quilt. And I knew I wanted to get that done this year before the holiday season, so I kind of just took it out of storage and buckled down and finished it in the past week. And I am not going to show it in person today because it's already on the couch and the cats have been sitting on it and it's covered in hair. But I did get a cute little video of it last night, so I will insert that here really quickly. Okay, so hopefully you just saw the little quilt video. I was doing that thing where you like drop it and reveal it, and it turned out so cute. I'm really pleased with it. I got all the fabrics at a local quilting store, so to speak, and I like the colors. It's like non-traditional Christmas, like the kind of blue-gray background, and then it has like the pink and the brown. I just think it's fun. And I definitely have favorites amongst the motifs. I love the little snow globe with the house in it and the little bird and the North Pole. Like those ones are really cute, but I'm just pleased with it. It's fairly small, like it's just like a perfect throw size. But yeah, glad I got that one done before this year's holiday season starts. I don't have a big quilt planned for this holiday, but I do have some little quilting projects, which you'll see more about in Vlogmas. So that is it for finished objects. We're only 30 minutes in, it's fine. Let's move on to works in progress. Okay, first whip is the next sock in the Colorwork Cuff Club by Summer Lee. So this month for November, she made a really cute Fair Isle design, and I finished the first sock and I'm more than halfway through the second one. So here's the first one. I am obsessed with this Fair Isle. It's so pretty. I knit this like half of the sock within like a day of the pattern coming out. Like I just had so much fun picking my colors for this. And the yarns for this one are really fun. So the main color, which is this really pretty variegated dark purple, is Sagittarius on the Twisted Sock Base from Ritual Dyes. They did a Zodiac collection. I'm a sucker for it. So, and it's a gorgeous color. So I've been waiting to use this yarn forever because I wanted to use it in my birthday month, November, because I'm a Sagittarius. So yes, really excited to finally use that. And then, like I said, I had so much fun picking out all of these colors for the cuff, and I'm using a bunch of the little scrap minis that I picked up at Indie Untangled from Coats & Co. They were selling bags of their like tonal yarns, like a bunch of little like 10-gram mini balls, and they're really fun. But it's so interesting because the colors like really different knit together than they do individually, especially this one. So this is the background color, which I think on its own to me is more of like a peachy color, but then when it's knitted up, especially when it's next to this mustardy yellow color, it looks very yellow. But yeah, I love how it turned out. So I thought I might talk a little bit about how I picked my colors for this. I've just seen people who want to knit these like on Instagram kind of saying they were struggling to pick colors. And I've acquired quite a few minis lately, and I do feel like for things like this, having a lot of variety to choose from in like scraps or minis definitely helps you be able to put like a more cohesive palette together. So I started by looking at Summer's version and kind of using that as like, you know, a roadmap for mine. So I knew I was gonna want a lighter color with a lot of high contrast for the little flea stitch in the background. And then she had a bright red here, and I had this more bare, like cherry kind of red, so I decided that would sub in. Same with the yellow, she had a similar color here. And then I used a lighter like lilac purple, because this is purple, so I thought the yellow and the red were kind of universal, like for their fair oil design, those could probably go with like any main color. But then for the other colors, I tried to pick things that were friendly with my main color. So that lighter purple, I think played really well with my dark purple main color. My dark kind of burgundy here, same thing. I thought that played really well off the reds and the purples. And then yellow is the complementary color of purple. So I kind of leaned into that when I was picking my light main color. And I think the mustard yellow and that color, again, play really nicely off the purple. So that's kind of how I went about it. I tried to have a mix of complementary colors because when you have complementary colors together, they really pop off of each other, especially when you're going for high contrast in something like this. And then also leaning a little bit into the tertiary is not the right word, when they're like next to each other. So like other shades of purple or shades of blue, etc. So yeah, that's kind of how I got to my color palette. I'm really pleased with it. So I told you I was gonna talk about how I'm making sure these ones fit me, because a lot of my Colorwork cuff socks have been coming out too small to get, the cuff is too small to get over my foot. So I made two changes. The first I actually implemented on the flower pair I showed you in the finished objects on the second sock. I have started knitting the Colorwork portion on a 9-inch circular. And usually I knit my socks on DPNs, which I still knit most of this on DPNs, but just for the Colorwork portion. So the main sock's knitted on 2.25 millimeter needles. For the Colorwork, you do already go up to a 2.75 as recommended by the pattern. So I did that. And then I got myself the Chowgu shorties, the little interchangeable set, which was definitely an investment, but I knit so many socks and I love knitting socks so much. For me, it was worth it. And I really like that there are the really short, like 1-inch tips and the longer tips. So I do a longer tip on my left hand and a shorter tip on my right hand. And that is much easier for me to work with than the other fixed shorties that I tried, where both of the tips are like 1.5 inches. Because I can hold the right hand needle with like a few fingers, but I need more support on the left hand. I knit continentals. Hopefully that makes sense. But that uneven size of the needles, for some reason, it makes it much easier for me to knit with them. So I've been trying that and it's been going well. And the other change was that for the top portion, so the cuff and the Colorwork, I went up a size. So I had been knitting the size medium and I went up to the size large. So this portion of the sock is 72 stitches. And then I just did a round of decreases to get back down to that 64 stitch count that I like, and then knit the rest of the sock as normal. It does have this cute little row of the flea stitch at the toe as well. So yeah, I'm really I think these are beautiful. I think they're a little bit out of my color comfort zone, but I love them. And I'm really, really excited to have them finished. The main yarn is also so lovely. I'm trying to find the ball band. Here we go. So yes, it is from Ritual Dyes. It's their Maiden base, which is the 2-ply twist fingering, 90% superwash merino, 10% nylon. It's also 400 yards, so it's a little bit heavier. It's almost closer to like a sport weight, and it knits up really, really nicely. And here's how far I've got on the second one. So just got the foot and the toe left to do. I'm really excited to see what patterns summer has in store for December. I'm sure they'll be very cute. So yes, I've been cranking those out. My goal is to have these finished before my birthday, which is right around Thanksgiving. Okay, and I have many other pairs of socks cast on right now, but I'm only gonna talk about one other pair today because these are the only ones I've been working on. This is a pair of toe-up self-striping socks that I'm working on. The color is so good, so pretty and vibrant. This is Nomadic Yarns, I believe. Yes. It is her twisty sock base, and she actually offers 50-gram balls, so I purchased a 50-gram ball. The color is Good Luck Babe, again inspired by the Chapel Roan. I just loved the colors, and I thought that the name was very cute. I've been kind of craving a self-striping yarn, and I think these will probably end up being like ankle length or shorties. I know how much I can knit until I need to knit the ribbing and bind off based on weight, and then I'll go back in and add an afterthought heel also in the self-striping yarn. I've not done that yet, but I think it'll be cute. And yeah, here is the ball. I think it's nice to offer the 50-gram. Like, you can definitely get a pair of socks out of 50 grams, maybe not like a super tall pair of socks, but I frequently end up with a ton of yarn left over from knitting socks. So yeah, it's kind of nice to just be able to buy a little half ball. That is the only update for those. This is like such a valuable knitting tool to me. It's in my box here, so I just thought I would share it real quick. This is just a teeny tiny little kitchen scale. I think I bought it on Amazon. The brand is Taylor, and I wish I had more of these, honestly. I should have one in every project bag. I use it all the time. Right now it's living in here just because I know I need to be able to weigh how much of that yarn is left, but I would really recommend investing in one of these if you are if you love knitting and need to weigh things. I used to have to run to the kitchen every time I needed to weigh something, but now I just have my tiny scale. Okay, next I have a couple garments to talk about, and then a couple spinning projects. So I have 3 sweaters that I'm going to share with you today. The first 2 are both Colorwork yokes. I don't know what came over me. And the first 2 also fit in my recent theme of having to redo things. So we started with the big rib. I shared with you about how I had to kind of tackle that and then eventually rip out the ribbing and redo it. So next I'm going to show you my Bergman. This is a pattern by Caitlin Hunter, and I have finished the yoke. Oh, she looks very good. I love how this yoke turned out. The main color, this kind of like light purpley gray is, oh my gosh, you would think I would be more prepared after having a month to get my stuff together, but here I am. It's Cascade BFL, 100% blue face luster. The color is 4. Of course, it's not written on here, but it is like a light purpley gray. And then the contrast color is Spin Cycle, and I do not have the ball band anymore. I initially bought this to make the Andrea Mowry framed sweater this year. I ended up not loving knitting that, so I'm using it in this instead, but I know it is the Dream State, but I cannot remember the color name, but it's really beautiful, purples and grays and blues. So I finished this yoke, and I had probably knit about 1 inch on the body, and when I tried it on, the armhole was too tight, and it was a combination of reasons. So it was the yoke was not deep enough. I needed to go back and knit about another 1/2 inch of the yoke. And then also I needed to cast on more stitches at the underarm. I think for my size initially, I only cast on like 4 or 5, and I ended up casting on 10. So I had to rip out all my body knitting, which thankfully wasn't that much. I hadn't gotten that far to the end of the yoke. And also thankfully, the last few rows in the yoke were just stockinette in the main color. So I just knit like another 1/2 inch in stockinette before I split for sleeves. And then when I split for sleeves, I cast on additional stitches in the underarm, and now it fits like perfectly. So yeah, I'm really pleased with it. I did give it a steam block, but I think wet blocking will help to even out a few more of those lumps and bumps. My Colorwork does tend to be like a bit lumpy before it's blocked, but it has always blocked out really nicely in the past. The one thing I'm concerned about are like these little areas right here above this last motif where I had to catch my floats, and I feel like they look a little messy. So I'm hoping that those will block out, like, yeah, see, they're just a little messy. I'm hoping that those will block out okay. Here's the back. It does have short rows right here after the collar in the back. I did do a little bit of color management on this yoke. Usually with Spin Cycle, I'm down to just let it do its thing. But with this, I felt like I needed very high contrast to make sure that the motifs would pop, just because they're not that large. Like most of these little squares are like 2 by 2 stitches, and the Spin Cycle did have a lot of areas of lighter gray. Let's try and find an example. Like this one, if you look right in the middle, I was afraid that kind of color wouldn't give me enough contrast. So where I could let it do its thing, I did. Where I had to intervene, I did. Like even in here, I feel like there's a few parts where that contrast could have been higher. But I really love like when the really bright purple pops through and there's some like navy down here. And I do think like when you're just looking at it, it's impactful, and I'm very happy with it. So all the fun part of this one's done now. Well, not quite. Maybe you can help me decide. So the design has the Colorwork yoke. It also has Colorwork at the bottom of the sleeves, which I'm definitely going to do. And it also has Colorwork at the hem of the body, which I'm torn about. I do think this one's going to end up being more on the cropped side. And I think that that could be cute to have the Colorwork on the body, but I don't want it to feel like, make it feel like squatty, you know? So let me know what you think. I'm tempted to try it. I suppose if I don't like it, I can always rip it out and just knit the body plain, but that would be sad. So we'll see. But right now it's pretty much a stockinette project. So this I think is probably going to be like craft night knitting once my next sweater is done. So right now the yoke is finished, the fit is addressed, and this one is kind of on hold for the meantime because of my next project. So let me show you that one. Okay, I signed up for a test knit. I know I should stop saying I'm not gonna do them anymore because I keep doing them. I signed up for a test knit for Rebecca Clow, who is the Crayabea here on YouTube and on Instagram. And it is for her Kintra sweater, which is going to be an Advent style. It's designed to be able to use an Advent. I can put a picture of hers here. I am doing a scrappy version, and I'm testing size 6, which I believe is like a 52-inch finished bust. It's a little bit higher than the highest recommended ease, so mine's going to be a little bit bigger. But I kind of want this to just be like a big, cozy, throw it on sweater. I picture this one being knit a bit longer, like compared to the Bergman, and it's going to be more oversized. And this one I also had to restart. So let me show you what I have, because I've made a lot of progress on it. Here it is. I am obsessed with the yoke. So it's 1x1 Colorwork. The increases give you a couple spots where you get 2 together, but for the most part, it's 1x1 Colorwork. It is a circular yoke. until about here, and then it's finished with raglan increases, which you can see here when you start the raglan increases. And there are short rows worked in the back after the color work, but before the split for sleeves. The fit of this yoke is so good. It's definitely the best fitting yoke I've ever knit, but I basically knit it twice. Let me tell you why. So I'm using scraps, but they're all woolen spun. And my main color is Harrisville Daylights in the color Lint, which is natural white with like little hints of purple. This is a DK weight. Some of the scraps I'm using are closer to worsted weight, if not like fully worsted weight. So the recommended needle size was, I think, a US 4 or a 4.5. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I had to go up and so I knit like half the yoke, like to here, with the recommended needle size, and I just got really excited and I just kind of got into it. And by the time I stopped to measure my gauge was way off. Like it was way too tight, really small, like compared to what it was supposed to be. And the fabric was very stiff and dense. So I frogged the entire thing and started over. And one other change I made, the neckline. So Rebecca's pattern is written to, you can either knit a single layer neckline like this, or you can knit a double folded neckline. But the change I made when I restarted was to knit this with combination style knitting. So I'm trying to start doing my 1x1 purling again in combination, because you get this really nice clean rib. And really what that means is just that you are twisting your pearls. And it's funny because when I first taught myself to knit, I knit combination. So I was knitting everything in combination. And I didn't really realize it until eventually on the heel turn of my socks, I started noticing that all of my, like when I was knitting flat, all of my purl stitches were twisted. So on the right side, I would have a row of regular knit stitches and then a row of twisted knit stitches. And it took me a while to figure that out. And eventually I like trained myself to knit a regular purl, not like a twisted purl. But it is harder to knit the regular purl continental style. The twisted purl is very easy to knit continental style knitting. So now I've come full circle and I'm trying to train my brain on when I can purl in a combination style and when I can't, and use it more mindfully to like get a better effect in my knitting and maybe increase the speed of my purling. Because if I'm knitting in the round, I can do the combination style purl no problem. It's when I'm knitting flat that I have to remember to do the other style of purl, or you can still do twisted purls, you just have to remember to knit through the back loop on the right side. So hopefully that wasn't too confusing. I just think it's funny that I've kind of come full circle on that, but you can see how nice the combination ribbing looks. You really get a lot of definition in your knit stitches, and then on the inside you can see those twisted knit stitches where the purls are on the outside. So that was just like one little thing I did. Started reknitting the yoke. I think I knit this yoke in 2 days. I knit this after the election, which I'm not gonna get too into, but it's been a time here in the US, I will just say that. And I hope that anyone who is feeling stressed like I am or upset has been able to turn to podcasts such as these to find some solace. So trying to keep it pretty apolitical, but yeah, I see you and I've been stress knitting too. So yes, this was my stress knitting project. And I love the yoke. I think it is beautiful. I am using, I kind of have a color scheme. I had 3 shades of each like color family. So I had 3 shades of purple, 3 shades of blue, green, pink, and brown. And I kind of just like did them in these like faded stripes. And I think the effect is really nice. I might be one of the only people using a woolen spun yarn that's in the tester group. And honestly, every single tester project looks amazing. Like this is, I could definitely see myself knitting another one. And yeah, it just, everything looks beautiful in it. So really excited to finish this one. As you can see, I've got quite a bit of the body done already. It is going to be pretty oversized, which I'm cool with. But I think I want this to be a bit longer, like come to like, you know, my low hip. So probably gonna knit the body, I don't know, this is like probably about 6 or 7 inches, maybe like twice this long with the ribbing. We'll see. I'm gonna have to try it on. My goal is to finish this by Thanksgiving. Today is the 17th, so that's 9 days from now. No, 11 days from now. Do we think I can do it? I don't know. There's still quite a few stitches in this body, so the rows aren't super fast, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try and power through because I'd love to wear it on Thanksgiving Day if I can get it done in time. What else do I have to say about this? I think it's coming out in January or February. It's a really long test knit. That's one of the reasons I signed up for it. I appreciate that Rebecca's increasing her testing window to 12 weeks. I think that is amazing. You know, give everyone in every size the chance to finish it. Obviously, I've knit mine pretty quickly, but it's nice to know that it doesn't have to be done until February if I needed to pause on it for whatever reason, or if I want to knit another one, which I might. I was actually thinking like a pink version or like a scrappy, I don't know. I have lots of ideas. Actually, even just like a solid colored version would be beautiful, or like a two-tone version. I don't know. So many ideas. Anyway, that's my test knit and my stress knit, my stress test knit. Very excited to wear it. 2 Colorwork yokes in a row. I don't know what got into me. The next one is not a Colorwork yoke. So my cousin is knitting her first ever sweater, and I'm knitting the same sweater to kind of help her through the process. And that is the linen sweater by Kadri. I can put a picture in here. It is an oversized drop shoulder sweater. It's fairly basic construction, but a really beautiful like classic design. We're kind of going for that like Baba sweater look if you are familiar with that brand. And I am using a really beautiful yarn that I got at Rhinebeck. I'm very excited about it. I actually got this at India Untangled. Here is the color. It is a really pretty dark burgundy. And it's from North Bay Fiber. They do breed specific yarns. This is their Journey base. It's 100% American Romney. And this is the Aran weight. I've not used Romney before. It's nice. I could see it has longer hairs. I think for some people, it could be irritating in the same way that like alpaca can be irritating with those longer hairs, but for me, I find it very soft. But you can see it's a little bit hairy. I think the ply on this is really pretty, this like loose 2-ply, and it's knitting up really nicely. So let me show you what I have. It's not much to look at right now. I just joined the front and back. So yeah, there's just a little tiny bit of the front panel there. So the back has this raglan detail, if I can get it to show. It's just got like a 2-stitch raglan detail. This was interesting. You increased every row on this back panel, so on the right sides and the wrong sides, which I'm not sure if I've done before, but it makes a really steep line, or sorry, a less steep, like it's a very quick increase, but it does make a rather tight increase line. Like you can see how it's puckering there, and I think that it will block out, but I'm gonna have to do a little bit of like a forceful blocking, I think, which I don't love, but I do think it will block out, and this will like relax a little bit with blocking as well. So there's the back panel. And like I said, I've knit the left, right, and left front and just joined them, and I just need to continue knitting back and forth. I think the yarn has a really nice texture. You can see the fabric's like a little bit sheer, which is interesting. It was kind of hard to find pick a yarn for this project. The yarn she uses in the design is very specific, and it's like a super fluffy yarn, which I just didn't have anything like that, but it makes it a little bit hard to pick a substitute when you've used like a really specific yarn. I think I really like how this is knitting up, but it's definitely going to be a little bit lighter probably than her version, but I think that's okay for this yarn that is going to be quite warm and rustic, to get like a little bit of a lighter body and a little bit more like airflow. But yeah, you can see the texture is really nice. And I love the color. Love. So that's all I got to show for it. Probably try and finish the front panel. I don't know. I'm kind of trying to match my cousin's pace and not get too far ahead of her. So I think she has just started her front panels. So I'll probably wait for her to catch up and then keep going on it. It's been very fun to like knit along with her and like answer all of her questions and help her through the process. So that's kind of a fun one I'm just working on in chunks. It's a pretty quick knit. It's knit on US 9, so 5.5mm needles. Very quick. Okay, last whip updates are a couple of spinning projects. So I started the third braid for my night shift shawl, and it is a more tonal purple, and I did finish the first bobbin, so I thought I would just show you that. This one's definitely not as variegated as the first two that I've done. It still has color shifts, but it's much more tonal. Really pretty like amethyst color. This is also from Fat Cat Knits. All of those braids for that project are from there. I picked them all out to kind of go together. And then an exciting one, new project. So a couple of other YouTubers, so it's Mackenzie of Into the Third, Claire of Pearlwise, and Madison Montees are hosting a make-along that is a spin it to knit it Harlow hat MKAL. And I picked up one braid of fiber at India Untangled, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna use it for this. Like, it's project match made in heaven. And it is this super fun hot pink braid. So I'll put a picture of the braid in here because I've already torn it apart now. But I picked this up from Kiera Wiggins, who was a new to me fiber dyer, but their stuff was gorgeous. And I have to say, so far, I think this might be my favorite spin that I've done. This braid is 100% Polworth. I think the color is called Dream House, like in the Barbie Dream House. And I finished the first bobbin. My gosh, it's so fun. It's so bright, the camera is like blowing out. So I'm trying to spin it a little bit thicker. For the Harlow hat, there's a fingering weight version and a worsted weight version. I want to do a 3-ply, so I'm shooting for the worsted weight version. Like, maybe you can see side by side, the pink is like slightly thicker than the purple single. So I'm trying to spin it a little bit thicker, and I split my braid in like a really chaotic way. I was not thinking, I just like went for it. So I took the whole braid and like folded it in half lengthwise and just split it into 2 long pieces. Then I was like, oh shoot, I'm doing a 3-ply. I need thirds. So then I took each of those halves and split them into thirds. So then I had like 6 little chunks. And then I'm doing a kind of fractal spin. So the first chunks I just split in 2, then I split in 4, and then I split in 8. So this was the section that had 8 little strips, or actually it was 16. So you can see the color repeat is like more often, more frequent. And then, yeah, I've got my next little fiber nests ready to go here. Like I said, this is 100% Polworth, which I had not spun for. It is a delight. It like spins itself. It's so easy. I've had very little like breakage as I'm spinning. It doesn't need a lot of twist. At least this one doesn't. Like, compared to the Targhee, this is 100% Targhee. It needs a lot of twist in the single. So it's much slower going than this Polworth. I spun this up in like 2 days, I think. Whereas this one took me like many more sessions than that. Like, I spun it up over the course of a few weeks, but it felt like it took way longer than this Polworth. So it's also very soft and I just love the color. So this has been a real joy. I honestly was like, I need to not just sit down and spin this whole thing because the make-along goes till the end of January and I have some more urgent projects on the needles, but it is really delightful. So those are my little spinning updates. That's it for whips. I do have a couple like chatty things, but I know we're over an hour already probably, so I'll try and keep it shorter. I do feel this time of year always makes me want to like, oh my gosh, the bobbins are like, sorry if you could hear that. This time of year, I always want to like declutter and re-examine whips. So I did have a couple things that I frogged or hibernated. I frogged my Curious Crop. I don't know if anyone will even remember this, but towards the end of the summer, I cast on a Curious Crop by Lydia Morrow, which is, I still want to knit it at some point. It's a fitted tank top that has like a circular cutout in the front. I was gonna knit it in black and I would still like to knit that at some point, but I worked on it once and like never ever worked on it again. And I just felt like it wasn't like seasonally appropriate anymore. So I frogged that and I will restart it at some point. My poetry sweater hibernated. So this, I knit the whole yoke, the neckline, some of the body. It's beautiful. I'm loving how it's working out. This is an all over lace pullover by Sari Nordland. I just haven't worked on it in a while. And again, I feel like for some reason, I think I'll be more ready to work on it in the spring. So I'm going to come back to that one. And then I had also hibernated my Vertices Unite shawl that I started, but I have since frogged it. I just wasn't liking the yarn and that was making me not want to work on it. So I decided that I'm going to donate that yarn because if I don't want to use it, I don't need to have it in my stash. And I do think someday I'll probably come back to the Vertices Unite, but maybe just do like a fun scrappy version instead of trying to force myself to use yarn that I just wasn't excited about. So that's all of that. I already chatted a bit about Rhinebeck at the beginning, but it was wonderful. I would love to go again someday. I don't know if I'll go next year or every year, definitely not, but I would go again someday for sure. And like I said, if you're interested in seeing more about my experience, definitely check out that other video. In my last podcast, I had mentioned trying a new video format where I was gonna like record a little segment throughout the month about all my FOs. And I started doing that. And then I just felt like it was so repetitive of what I would say on this podcast. So I scrapped that idea, so that video is not going to be coming. But I am trying to think of ways to show up here more often. And obviously Vlogmas is coming up, so this is probably going to be my last it's definitely going to be my last regular podcast episode before Vlogmas. But I'm trying to think, like, starting in the new year, I'm going to be in my 3rd year of podcasting. Like, how can I show up more regularly in a way that isn't like too much of an overcommitment like with everything else in my life? So the thing I've kind of been toying around with is trying to do like a Fiber Friday or something, more of like a sit down at my desk and just record like a short video where maybe I would just show like 1 or 2 whips, like what I've been working on and loving this week. Maybe I could share like things that are inspiring me in the community or like projects I'm excited to make. And maybe I thought I could answer some questions. So I don't know, just something short and sweet, like 15 to 20 minutes, maybe, like, but show up every week in a more regular way. So let me know what you think about that idea, or if you have any suggestions for what else you'd like to see from me. But I do feel like I want to be coming to you more often, but maybe in a smaller way. So I'm trying to think about what that is. And Vlogmas. So my next videos will be Vlogmas. So I'm probably gonna have like a preview day 1 video that comes out on December 1st of like getting my projects planned and ready and like decorating for the holidays and all of that. And then I think I'm gonna do again what I did last year, where I will record every day, but I'll only have a video out every 3 or 4 days. Not having to edit every day just makes it a lot more manageable for me. So probably we'll have like 6 or 7 videos through the month. And this year I think I'm gonna do all of December. At least I'm gonna try to like not just stop on Christmas Day, but like do all of December, because we have a lot of fun things that we do around New Year's Eve as well. And then we'll be in 2025. So very excited about Vlogmas. Let me know also if you have any specific like Vlogmas things you want to see. I'm excited about all of my projects. I'll share all of those in the first Vlogmas video, but yeah, okay, that's it. Sorry if this was a little bit of a chaotic episode. It's been a bit of a chaotic time. Oh, one last thing. We went out last night with a bunch of friends to celebrate my birthday, which was very, very fun. And I got a truly epic cake. I want to share it with you. There is profanity on it, so if you have any little eyes around, you might want to avert them, but I'm going to put a picture of it here. I got this from a local baker, and she absolutely hit it out of the park. So we went to the bar where I host my craft nights, so that's why the crafty tie-in made sense. I chose this saying. I should also say I wanted it to say that. I just thought it was funny, and we got to celebrate with all of our friends and all the staff at the bar that we've really come to love. And the cake was amazing. It was beautiful and it tasted good. I was sad to have to take the bows off, but they were not edible, so we took them off. Yeah, it was a special night. So that is all I have. I'll leave you with that fun note. Thank you for watching. I hope that if you are feeling stressed here in the US, I hope that your craft has been a solace for you in the same way that it has been for me. I hope you get lots of crafty time in over the holidays, and I'm very much looking forward to Vlogmas, making my own and watching other people's, and I hope that you have a wonderful holiday season coming up. All right, I will see you next time. Bye.